In the brutal, exhausting world of professional cycling, the yellow jersey is treated like holy gold. It represents the absolute pinnacle of human physical endurance, right? A symbolic shield of honor forged through weeks of long-burning climbs and terrifying high-speed descents. But this year, the road to Paris is paved with a toxic, unpredictable fury. Today, we're unpacking the brutal, dual-front war of the 2026 Tour de France. On one side, we have a historic, back-to-back coup on the asphalt that has sent absolute shockwaves through the peloton and the crowds. And on the other, a grim, squalid reality erupting behind closed doors that is pushing riders to their absolute breaking point. Okay, let's dive right into this. Tadej Pogacar, fresh off a historic Stage 10 solo attack on the legendary slopes of the Massif Central, crossed the finish line to claim the yellow jersey. But instead of universal celebration, he was met with boos from a vocal section of the French fans. His response? Well, he didn't shy away from it. He told the press, "I have haters, and haters gonna hate. To all the booers who are there, they just give more boost to my teammates." He's actively embracing a villain era, turning what could be demoralizing hostility into pure, unadulterated rocket fuel for him and his UAE Team Emirates squad. Section 1. The New Tour Villain. So to really understand this sudden wave of hostility, we have to look at the on-road drama. On Bastille Day, when a victory by a French home rider is practically a national demand, Pogacar completely crushed his rivals, taking his third stage of the race. He turned what should have been a massive celebration for the home crowd into a tense, psychological standoff. He didn't just win, he dominated in a way that left the crowd reeling. Now, Pogacar is quick to clarify that 99% of the roadside fans are cheering, and he firmly believes that cycling fans are the greatest in all of sports. But it's that 1%, the hostility from a vocal minority shouting boo as he passes on the climbs, that has sparked a frighteningly cold-blooded response from the race leader. His teammate Tim Wellens even noted that they hear the frustration. They literally laugh about it, and they realize it just means they're doing something incredibly right. What's really fascinating here is how Pogacar is psychologically processing this friction. He actively channels the mental matrix of tennis star Novak Djokovic. He actually told the press, "When someone shouts boo, I always think of Djokovic. That isn't necessarily hate, because he is the greatest." Pogacar is weaponizing that negative crowd energy, much like Djokovic did during his 24 Grand Slam title run, to lock in his absolute dominance over the peloton. Section 2. The Col du Pertus attack. To understand this different athletic dimension he's operating in, we have to look at the terrifying physical reality of the Col du Pertus. The telemetry is absolutely jaw-dropping. Pogacar was exactly 45 seconds behind the lone leader Richard Carapaz, who, by the way, happens to be an Olympic champion and a past Giro d'Italia winner. When Pogacar launched his attack with a kilometer of the climb to go, he bridged that massive 45-second gap in just 700 meters. He blasted past Carapaz like the Ecuadorian was a Gran Fondo straggler. Defending champion Jonas Vingegaard didn't even deign to follow the initial jump. It was as though Pogacar was invisible to the human eye. And the time gaps brilliantly illustrate the devastating fallout. Pogacar hasn't just taken the lead, he has systematically demoralized his rivals. Defending champion Jonas Vingegaard is now staring at a commanding 3 minute and 36-second deficit, with Remco Evenepoel at 4 minutes and 6 seconds. Pogacar denied Vingegaard any chance to repeat his previous year's recovery, opening up a lead that feels incredibly heavy for the rest of the pack. Section 3. Hotelgate. The lodging crisis. To get the full picture of this race, we have to pivot sharply from the pristine asphalt to a grim reality behind closed doors. While the war on the bike is dictated by genetic power and climbing metrics, the battle behind the scenes is being fueled by a massive institutional scandal. And remember, all of this is unfolding during a brutal, record-shattering European heatwave. We literally saw Stage 9 get shortened, and guys like Jonas Vingegaard pushed to the absolute physiological limit under 104-degree heat. So contrast those physical demands with the living conditions. On one hand, Mathieu van der Poel and several teams are absolutely furious after discovering that the ASO, the race organizers, reportedly reserved beautiful luxury air-conditioned chateaus for themselves. On the other hand, the professional riders, the elite athletes actually suffering through the sweltering heat of the Tour, were forced into outdated, rusty, unventilated 2-star motels in the Cantal region for their crucial rest days. Listen to this list of specific, disgusting grievances shared by figures like Adrian van der Poel and the Uno X mobility team. We're talking about mold under the beds, cockroaches crawling around the rooms, air conditioning units completely knocked out during that 104-degree heat, severe rust and water damage. They were even served unacceptable food for the team staff who work incredibly grueling hours. Magnus Cort, riding for Uno X, rated his official tour accommodation a 1 out of 7 stars. Forcing elite athletes into unhygienic conditions isn't just an inconvenience, it's a massive structural safety failure in a sport where microscopic recovery margins are everything. It got so bad that it literally turned into an absurd survival simulation. Elite riders like Sylvain Dillier from Alpecin and Tobias Johannesson from Uno X actually chose to sleep outside on balconies and terraces under the stars. Can you even imagine that? Elite athletes competing in the world's biggest bike race, sleeping outside on concrete just to function? Why? Because their assigned rooms were so incredibly unlivable. Escaping the indoor heat, the bugs, and the noise of broken equipment was their only chance to get any actual rest before tackling the brutal mountain stages the next morning. Section 4. Equality or excuses? So how did a premier global sporting event end up like this? Let's impartially examine both sides of this intense conflict, starting with the team's absolute fury. Adrie van der Poel stated, "The locations of the hotels are often good, but the one for the rest day was outdated, rusty, and there was mold under the bed in my room. This has nothing to do with a level playing field." The teams are arguing that the strict UCI hotel lottery system, which mandates organizers choose the hotels, has completely broken down this summer, and it's needlessly punishing the riders.
But we also have to look at the response from ASO director Christian Prudhomme. He strongly defends the system, explaining his rationale. If we want the race to pass through beautiful parts of France, there aren't always five-star hotels everywhere. We are the only ones who can guarantee equality among the teams. His point is that if they didn't centralize the booking of all 40,000 hotel rooms, massive budget teams would simply buy up all the premium luxury spots in remote rural areas, gaining a massive, unfair recovery advantage over the smaller teams.
But here's the ironic twist. That attempt at equality, it's failing anyway. Teams with massive budgets, like Soudal Quick-Step and UAE Team Emirates, are circumventing the limitations of these two-star motels by importing their own high-tech recovery environments. They use their budgets to haul in top-of-the-line portable air conditioning units, specialized cooling mattresses, and dehumidifiers. So while a rider on a smaller budget might be sweltering in a moldy room, team managers confirm that Tadej Pogacar still gets a perfectly temperature-controlled night's sleep. Section 5. Surviving the Tour. Let's bring this all together. The grim reality of the 2026 Tour de France is a grueling two-front war. On the asphalt, the peloton is battling a superhuman mutant in Tadej Pogacar, a rider whose genetic power, climbing metrics, and Djokovic-like mental matrix are defying logic. And the second they step off the bike, they are fighting an exhausting battle against squalor, record-shattering heat, and bug-infested motels just to get a few hours of sleep. Which leads us to this final thought. In a grand tour entirely dictated by microscopic margins of recovery, can anyone actually survive this ultimate physical and psychological test? When you are fighting cycling history on the mountain and rust and cockroaches in your bed, who will ultimately break first? It's a fascinating, terrifying dynamic, and it is exactly what makes this year's tour an absolute must-watch.